Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I am joined with Asher, the SGA president, and yeah, we're just gonna be talking about kind of what it's like to be in student leadership at Vanguard. So my first question to you is, when did you kind of realize that you wanted to be like SGA president? Like, was there like a turning, like a click that went and is like, I want to run for SGA president?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again so much for having me. It was a process, honestly. I fell in love with Vanguard like the second I got here, and I wanted to do leadership. And then I actually applied to be an RA after my freshman year, and I didn't get it. And I was like, okay, this is lame. Like, why didn't I get that? And then I was like, I'll just do frontline, it'll be fine. And I then applied after my sophomore year to be an RA, and I got RA in Catalina Hall, and that was a really awesome opportunity. That's where I met Lane. But it was really sick to be able to have that opportunity, and I just kind of fell in love with like the leadership at Vanguard and like what like the model of leadership. And I realized like from being RA and just being a student that there's so many cool opportunities that Vanguard has that one students don't really know about, and if they do know about, it's not something that's widely talked about. And so I just wanted to be make it more prominent, and I wanted to play a part in making students experience better and making people's lives better. And that was the biggest reason for me to do it. It's been a really cool opportunity, and leadership and politics is something I've wanted to do, and so this seemed like a logical kind of stepping stone on that front too. But I think the biggest motivation for me was just how much I love Vanguard, kind of wanting to contribute and do whatever I can to like help our community.
Yeah, that's good. What are like kind of like the day-to-day like roles and responsibilities that you do?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is like advocacy work. So we have monthly forums where me and my team go and sit with as many students that want to come, and they share like suggestions and concerns and complaints and things like that. And that's kind of a big thing because after that, everyone on my team meets with a president or a vice president. So I meet with like Dr. Beals, the president. My vice president meets with Dr. Hartwig, the provost, and we meet with Justin McEntee. We meet with like chief of staff to the president, all kinds of people, and we report back if it's like in their area that was a student brought up, and then we just kind of begin the advocacy work there. In addition to that, I serve as like a co-head lead of the bridge. That's where I'm sitting right now, actually. This is the Office of Student Engagement. We are in charge of planning different events and activities on campus. So something I didn't realize about this role is that I would have that position, and I've been really grateful for it. I've been able to have my hand in a lot of different events, and I've really loved it. So that's been like an unexpected kind of exciting part of this role as well.
Yeah. What's been like your favorite thing and like most proud thing that you've done?
I think Vanguard's Got Talent was definitely one of my favorites.
Huh?
I love that event. That was an event we started this year. It was in November, and we had a really good turnout. We had just had students going and sharing their talents. Something that was really big for me was I wanted to have more opportunities for students to share their voices, and that was just one step in that process. Another thing that I've really loved was we started a new Instagram. It's like Vanguard underscore student life. And that was just a way that we can kind of bridge the gap of communication. Because something I struggled with a lot, even as an RA, is like telling students like where to find information. Just because there's so many different Instagrams and so many different clubs,
Hmm.
which is awesome. But having one centralized location was really helpful. And so I've loved having that as well. And that was something that I was very passionate about, and I was so grateful that it happened during my administration.
Yeah, that's good. And so obviously your major is poli sci. Do you think this kind of connects well into, like you mentioned, like the political side of it? Like how does that connect?
Yes and no. I think it's really different, but I think it's a good stepping stone. I think it's different in the sense that obviously Vanguard is a university and we're a Christian university, and that's a big difference. Is like having the same starting place with everybody as like being like
Hmm.
believers in Christ. Like it's a good starting spot, especially when doing advocacy work. But another thing that's different is obviously like the event planning and stuff. But as far as like advocating and lobbying for things and allocating funds and having a budget and balancing that budget, that's been something that's been super helpful and something that I haven't had a ton of experience doing. And I've been grateful to have the opportunity to do. When we are in student government, we have like a fixed budget that we start with. And a big part of our job is figuring out how to use that budget. And that's a lot of how being an elected official works, is how to use the budget to
Yeah.
represent people well and like kind of serve the population. And so I've been grateful to do that, and I've loved having that experience, and that's been really helpful, I think.
Yeah. Do you like history, or do you kind of like, shy away from that and focus more on poli sci?
I love both. I came to college bummed that it was a history political science department because I loved history and I was like, what is this poli sci stuff? I don't
Yeah.
care. And I learned really quickly that the way I see it is political science is kind of like applied history, because poli
Mhm.
sci can't exist without history, without like knowing the past. To apply it to the future has been so important. And so I've loved looking at history from more of like an application sense in poli sci. But I love history. I love my history podcasts. I love like learning about just like stories are like my favorite thing ever. So I think history is
Yeah.
such a fun story. And so I love that part of it.
Yeah. Is it pretty 50-50, or do you like lean more?
It's pretty 50-50. I'm
That's
gonna
good.
stick with that. I was speaking at an admissions event the other day, and the dean, Dr. Mike Wilson, was in the audience, and he's dean over arts and sciences, but he was a history professor at
Mhm.
Vanguard. And I made the mistake. I said history poli sci, but then later in the speech, I said something about being a poli sci student. And after, he was like, Asher, you're a history political science student. You're a history political science student. So I'm going to remain neutral and say I'm 50-50.
Yeah, I definitely make that mistake too. Like even I feel like even now I've referred to it as just poli sci, but
I find myself catering to the audience I'm with.
that's true.
If they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm like history, if I can tell they mess with history, I'm like, oh yeah, I like history major. Or if I'm like, oh, poli sci is gonna get me some street
Yeah.
cred here. Or if you say it fast enough, people think you're double majoring, and that's super
Mhm.
cool too.
Yeah. I also feel like people just like kind of don't understand it fully. So when I sometimes just simplify it and like, yeah, it's
True.
poli sci.
I know, which I didn't think I did either, but I think it's one of the like biggest draws of our department actually, is like it's so cool to be able to have like both.
Yeah.
I've loved taking both and kind of having the freedom for that because I feel like they relate so well to each other.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any like post grad like, career plans? Like what does life look like for you in 5 months or,
Yeah, that
or-
that is the question. I know that's something I'm currently working on figuring out. There's a program in Sacramento I've been working on applying to and doing the whole application interviews for, called like the Senate Fellows Program and Assembly Fellows Program.
Wow.
So that'd be really cool working in the California Senate or Assembly. So that's a hard program to get into. So I'm gonna kind of see my options as well.
Yeah.
But if I do get that, I'd love to do it. If not, I don't know. I'm just gonna see where the Lord has. I think God's been
Yeah.
very faithful in like giving me paths and opportunities. So I'm just gonna kind of see what happens with that and what that looks like.
Yeah. I'm sure being SJ president is like a good like resume builder too, and like
Yeah,
networking.
put that thing right on top of the resume.
Yeah, and good networking.
Absolutely.
Been like your favorite special topic that you've taken here?
Ooh,
Is there like one that sticks out as like,
favorite special topic.
yeah,
There's
or
been
any class?
there's
It
been
doesn't have
so many good ones. Um, I don't remember if this was a special topic. I don't think it is, but my second semester of my freshman year, with Dr. Lashwa, who's since moved on from Vanguard, she taught ancient Greece and Rome, and that was an
wow.
awesome class because the way we
Yeah.
learned is like she lectured a little bit, but most of it was like these role playing games where like everyone had like a signed role and you had your motivations and things you had to accomplish, and it was just like like debates every single class, and I loved that.
That is cool.
I've
Yeah.
also film and politics was also one of my favorite classes.
Everyone
Dr.
talks about
Ping.
that one.
It was such a fun one. We just watched movies it was Tuesday, Thursday. Every Tuesday we watched the movie. Every Thursday we had a table discussion about them. And they were all kind of politically charged movies. And then towards the end of the class, it moved towards like foreign films and what those looked like and how those impacted things. It was an awesome class. I loved it.
I'm so jealous. I wish I could take that one.
Hey, you gotta tell her to offer it again. I'm sure she will.
Is there one that you're like hoping comes back? I know you're not gonna be here next semester, but it's like, if is there one that's like, oh, I wish I could, take.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of my favorite classes, I think, were the political philosophy classes, comparative thought, and
Okay.
Christian comparative thought, Christian political thought. Those were ones that I loved that Dr. Jimenez taught, and so I would take those classes like 5 times over. That and actually faith and politics with
Mm.
Kathy Yee. She taught that about 2 years ago, and that class was really cool. It was political science, but it was very practical and like how to relate with people about politics and faith and what that looks like. And I really enjoyed taking that class, and I'd love to take it again.
Yeah. Has it been hard, balancing, all your duties as SGA president, schoolwork, or has it been like easier than you thought? In my mind,
Yeah,
it just seems like such like a busy role.
absolutely. No, and it is. I think that obviously, if I had this freshman year or sophomore year or junior year, I would not have been able to manage it. I think
Hmm.
that building upon like every adding something every single year has been so helpful for me to
Yeah.
be able to kind of learn how to have a lot of things on my plate. Also, what was really nice is I only was taking 12 units last semester.
Mm.
So my first semester as president, and that helped me kind of ease into the role and figure out what I was even doing in this job
Yeah.
before I actually like had a lot of classes on top of that. So I was super grateful for that because I have a little bit of a heavier load, excuse me, this semester, and so I was grateful that I got to ease myself in last semester, and now I feel like I know what the job is and I have to figure it out,
Yeah.
and then I can kind of work on it.
Is there something you like specific that you still want to get done as president? Like, do you still have like a, agenda list?
Yeah, we have a lot of things. I think the thing I keep telling my team is like we still have 8 more weeks. We're still going, and so we still have a lot of things we want to accomplish and things we want to do. One of the biggest things is we're working on a mural project and trying to get commission some murals on campus before we leave. And so
Oh,
just kind of working on
that's
that,
cool.
going through with administration and trying to figure out what that looks like and getting
Yeah,
students involved.
that's really cool. Do you have like an on-campus job besides SJ president? Is there other ways like you're involved?
Yeah, I'm a tour guide, which has been really
Okay.
fun. I've been doing that for the last almost 3.5 years now. I started my freshman year, but I love that job. It's different now because I remember I was doing it for the last 3 years, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to school with these people next year. And I met so many people before that actually were Vanguard students, and that was a really cool
Yeah.
thing to be able to have that kind of just that network from the beginning and be able to kind of have like get to know them, which I really loved.
Yeah.
But so now it's a little bit different because I'm like, I'll never go to school with these people, which
Yeah.
is kind of a bummer. But I still love doing the job. I love showcasing Vanguard. I
Yeah.
really think of Vanguard as my home, and so it's really cool to be able to like show people around where I hang out and stuff.
Yeah.
So
That'd
I
be
love
cool for
that
like,
job, and that's been really fun. I've taken a lot less hours since I've become SJ president, just trying to
yeah.
balance everything. But I've made sure to like squeeze some into my schedule for sure.
Yeah. How do you balance like, like maintaining all of this and your responsibilities and your social life? Like, has that been, a challenge too? Or are you pretty good at like balancing everything now, you think?
Yeah, I think balance is definitely something I've struggled with, and I think I go through seasons of like being really good at it and being really, really bad at it. I think that I get really hyper focused on things. And so if there's a project I'm doing, I'm like, okay, I need to just like commit everything to this. And I kind of like overcorrect. I'm like, I'm going to go all in on
Yeah.
it. And so this year has definitely been a very good like learning moment for me
Yeah.
of like not going all in on everything all the time because I need to like balance everything. So
Yeah.
trying to figure that out and like managing my time well has been really good. It's really nice because I have to have listed office hours as president. And
Okay.
so I'm like, okay, that's when I'm going to get my work done. Some weeks I have to spill over a little bit more, and that's okay. Like that's the core time I'm getting this work done, and then like the rest of the time I can be doing homework or kind of situate that.
So what are the office hours?
Yeah, so I have like 15 to 20 office hours every semester or every week, and so
Uh-huh.
I'm in here like 4 days a week, probably for 4 5 hours a day-ish, less than that. I'm not sure what
Mhm.
the math is, but like I'm here every like Monday, Wednesday from noon to 2:30, and then I come from 3 to 5, and so it's just things like that where they're
Yeah.
listed. So students have to want to come and like talk about SGA
Oh,
things. We have someone available, but also just time for us to get our work done as well.
that's very cool. Did people utilize that, or is it kind of like,
Yes, I don't know if people look on the website a ton to find those hours, but people
yeah,
come in a good amount and just like to talk, like bring up things, or even just kind of hang out, which has been really good. But I feel like there's been times when people are like, "Oh, like someone came by," but we started putting the office hours on the door so people can
oh,
know like when to find us.
Have you gotten any good ideas from those off
We've
the
gotten
summer?
a ton from people just walking into forums and stuff. We've gotten some really cool ideas and some cool stuff we've been working on. So a lot of it is trying to like get the idea and trying to figure out how to make it a reality is
Yeah.
what a lot of our job is, which is really fun.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely more of like the dreamer. So I like have these huge ideas. I'm like, let's just go all in. And then I have my team around me, which has been so helpful to be like, okay, let's figure out how we can like actually do this and do
Yeah.
it a little bit more practically.
Yeah. That makes sense. Do you have any advice for, people who may be watching this, like freshmen, even in the major too, or like school wide? Do you have anything you would like to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my biggest thing is to get involved. I think Vanguard and our department and we just have so much to offer, and it's so easy to miss out on things if you're not getting
Mhm.
involved. And so I think the only reason I'm where I'm at now with leadership and even in our department is just because I got involved and I said yes to things. And I think you're only in college once, and some of us are only in college for 4 years, or some of us are even in college for 3 years. And so just making sure like hold that time and be ready to kind of just say yes when things come and like get involved as much as possible is my biggest piece.
Yeah. And building off of that, do you have like a legacy you want to build? Do you like envision yourself as like, leaving behind something for being president?
Yeah, it's higher ed is so weird because I feel like there's such a quick turnaround because you're only there for four
Yeah,
years. And so I'm not 100% sure. I've thought about that. Like, what does my legacy look like? Should I have a legacy? And I'm still working on that. And I think I have 8 more weeks to try and figure out what that looks like, but
for sure.
still working on it.
All right. Well, thank you, Asher, for doing this. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And yeah,
Thank
we'll
you
see
guys
you
so
next.
much. Thank you, Lane.
Thank you.